sees the means of production, and the like and subscribe button. Newsom wants to purge the homeless, by the way. Yeah, I know. That's like the one thing I know about Newsom. Anyway, base Trump for doing like white resettlement and decolonialization of South Africa or something type shit. Thank you, base third worldist Trump, for finally bringing the whitey home. And by home, I mean to a country that was colonized by white people like 300 years ago, but you know. What matters is that they're having fun. Will they do the same thing with Israelis? I mean, like, we kind of are as national policy right now, right? Newsom asks cities to ban homeless encampments, escalating crackdown. Remember when a bunch of Democrats were trying to convince us at the beginning of the Trump administration that this guy was like an anti-Republican firebrand? And then as soon as Trump got inaugurated, he responded to it by making a podcast where he agrees with alt-right or like far-right figures. He's currently underwater in ratings in his own state after his podcast. Yeah. That people did not like that one, which makes sense. Weren't you one of those people? I think I said that Newsom has the potential to be pretty oppositional to Republicans, but I really don't think I glazed him as aggressively as a lot of people that I saw. As a former Californian, I hate Newsom, not even because I've lived under his governance, mind. But because, like, I know what California is like. Newsom's escalated California's push to eradicate homeless encampments on Monday, calling on hundreds of cities, towns, and counties to effectively ban tent camps on sidewalks, bike paths, parklands, and other types of public property. Newsom's administration has raised and spent tens of billions of dollars on programs to bring homeless people into housing and emphasize treatment. So, California has spent a huge amount of money on addressing homelessness, but it's basically been wasting it because their programs are basically like they're just ways of burning through money. They don't address the underlying problems. You know? Here we go. A state audit found California invested a staggering $24 billion over the past 5 fiscal years to address homelessness, a figure that underscores the state's urgent effort to curb this intractable crisis. Ooh, KTLA. And yet, as the spending has increased, so has California's homeless population. Estimated 181,000 people experienced homelessness in California in 2023, an increase of 63,000 over the past 10 years. In the 2021 to 2022 fiscal year, when the homeless population was estimated to be 172,000, California spent $7.2 billion, which equated to nearly $42,000 per homeless individual. Jesus Christ, they like gave them a living wage. Oh my God, that's crazy. Careful, we all know they never saw that money. Yeah, the money wasn't given to them. It was spent on them. The spending includes housing and rental assistance, physical and mental health outreach, case management, and funds to purchase motels and other types of temporary housing. So essentially, this was like a state subsidy to motels. Gotcha. Fantastic. California didn't even track the outcomes of the spending. Praising you. In a scathing report released in April, the state auditor said the California Interagency Council on Homelessness has done a poor job accounting for homeless spending and tracking results. Because it was never actually about them. Accountants just get in the way. Nah, it's not about accountants. It's that, like, at the end of the day, the prominence of homelessness has to do with like a complex mesh of underlying social issues that you can't address with temporary band-aid fixes. Like, what if we spent a ton of money on these like overpriced, ineffective case management or mental health service programs, you know? Listen, housing first, homelessness initiative. That's what works. We have data on this. It's not a mystery. Housing first. You build the housing, you put them in the housing, and then things improve from there, ideally. But it's California, so no one wants to build housing. In the 6 months before becoming homeless, their median household income was just $960 per month, UCSF researchers found. Fascinating. People don't become homeless because they do drugs because they're homeless. Well, it can be both. Unfortunately, like, in dealing with homelessness, you have to recognize that a lot of these people are functionally like non-citizens. Like, a lot of them are extremely cooked mentally for a wide variety of reasons. It's not fair, and it's not necessarily their fault, but it's still true. You have to, extremely yikes take. I'm sorry I live in the real world and not on Blue Sky, where I get my takes on the real world from people affirming my most progressive instincts. There are a lot of homeless people that are, like, in a really bad mental state. Canada study debunks stereotypes of homeless people spending habits. The problem is that for a lot of homeless people who are already gone, I don't think anyone really knows what to do with them, right? Like, the majority of homeless people, I think, are, you know, a cut and a shave away from, you know, being much more productive, I guess, or being more like socially capable. There are some homeless people who are not, and like basically never will be. We used to have insane asylums. I don't really think that's necessarily the way to go. It seems like in a lot of cases, we basically just throw them in and out of prison. That's also not great. Um, you know, some kind of ward. I'm not entirely sure, but it makes you like that, right? Like the longer you're homeless, the more likely it is that you'll be like that. So the goal is to not let the homelessness crisis get bad enough that you have this building population of people who become essentially unsavable. Trauma living on a street exacerbates mental health issues. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. Like I said, it's not fair or their fault. Just, it is what it is. I think you can save like 80% or so of them, but that last 5 to 20% are really gone. Yeah, it depends on like where you are, I guess, like what state, what area you're in. It's just LA has had a homeless population that's been so big for so long. A lot of the people out there, I wonder if it's like worse, like because they've been on the street for so long, like there's a higher proportion of people who are just like mentally fucked. You know? Yeah, the goal is to set in motion systems that prevent it from getting this bad to begin with. You know, we're trying to do a Band-Aid treatment after a gaping wound's already developed sepsis. And we're getting like upset when the Band-Aids are falling off. Yeah, stability is the main thing you want as a homeless person, I think, which is why housing first is the best thing, you know? California is home to about half of the nation's unsheltered homeless population. God, that's crazy. Absolutely insane. Yeah, nuts. It's difficult to propose any kind of solution to homelessness when the median American citizen just wants homeless people put in a wood chipper. Like, people are happy to spend billions on police and jails if that takes the homeless people away, but they won't spend half that if it gives homeless people good lives and makes them productive citizens. Jesus, Jenny. Nearly 40% of the state's Democrat-dominated electorate said they were so wary of squalid settlements overtaking parks and blocking sidewalks that they supported the arrest of homeless campers if they refused shelter, according to a poll last month by Politico. Pardon me for being Hitlerite. I do sympathize with the 40% of the state's weary Democrat-dominated electorate here, because if you've lived in a city that has a major homelessness issue, you do know how like much it ruins an area. It's just that like it's the level of political imagination here, right? Because people are like, well, why won't they just go to shelter? There's open shelter, but the shelter is awful. Like, awful, and your possessions are stolen from you. Like, that's one of the major reasons why they camp out, by the way, because if they have a tent, it's their tent. If anyone else goes into their tent, they'll fight you, right? But if you're in a shelter, it's like, well, how do I make sure other people don't steal my shit? There's a bunch of other people in here, right? They get abused and your shit gets stolen, and often the people who run these shelters are uncaring and they're disease ridden. Like, they like to be like bed bugs and stuff. Yeah, you can't have pets. So if you've got a dog you love, like, good luck with that. You know, you're basically condemned to the street. Yeah, it's assault. So like, that's the reason why they camp out and don't go to the shelters. Yeah, and a lot of shelters will kick you out during the daytime because they're like, you should be looking for jobs or whatever, which means you're basically condemned to street walk for like 14 hours a day. Brave Dubin, that's literally the article we're looking at right now. An argument I hear a lot is that homeless people want to live in the streets. I mean, if the alternative is a really awful abusive shelter where you're going to be raped and your shit's going to be stolen, then like, yeah, especially in California, the weather's nice. But like, so what if we gave them something better than a shitty homeless shelter? What if we gave them a house, you know, just like hypothetically? I mean, because that would fix the problem. Just rooms with locks. Literally, like, it doesn't have to be a regular house. It can be a 200 square foot little like temporary house. Like, you literally just need like a bed, and yeah, you need heating, water, electricity, right? The bed. Like, it can be like a shack. It just needs to be something and have like a workable address. Jesus, Kowalski. Can you build homes for them that doesn't affect the housing market? It's California. The housing market should be affected. Also, yes, building 200 square foot mini homes as a temporary residence for people getting back up on their feet is not going to disrupt the luxury condo in downtown LA industry. It'll be fine. The realtors will survive. Their margins will clear. Where would you build it? It's LA. Half the city's a parking lot. I mean, we're talking about all of California, but like, you could build these anywhere. Like, Seattle actually has something like this. They have these tiny home villages. Basically, they take what would otherwise be a parking lot. They put up a fence so people can't see in, and then they build like a bunch of mini homes for low-income housing. And they're not, it's meant to be like the lowest possible entry, you know? Like, it's like a little village. A ghetto? No, actually. I know where this one specifically is, and it's the middle of a really nice neighborhood. The goal is to like have a private little area where people who are getting back up on their feet can have kind of like a, you know, smaller, yeah, it's not a penthouse apartment, but homeless people don't need a penthouse apartment. Homeless people need, again, like a door with a lock and a bed to sleep in. You know? But yeah, one of the things that I like about this in Seattle is that these aren't like off in the boonies, right? These locations, look, those are regular residential homes right there in the back. Like they're just on a lot that would otherwise be occupied by like one house. So in the space of one single family home, they can fit like a dozen or 2 dozen people. And they get treated like homes too. Look, I know this one, they've got like the painted doors. I'm not saying it's an ideal solution, right? It just depends on how much money and space is available. But keep in mind that housing's pretty goddamn expensive in Seattle. So if they're able to, you're literally taking one lot. You're taking one unused lot and you potentially like giving dozens of people a step back into life on it. Do you know how little it costs to build shacks like this? It's you literally have like a combined septic tank or like it's probably shared bathrooms or like a few external ones or like a camp bathroom or something like that you connect it to, and then you need a concrete platform, and then you put a shack from Home Depot on top of it. Literally, like the shack itself is like nothing. Like it's so little, but it does so much. But it's because again, like there are so many empty lots in LA that are owned by the government. And they could literally just be like, we will spend $100,000 doing this. We're going to build like a little bathroom area, like a shared shower, like stall bathroom. And then here's some Home Depot shacks, kerplunk. Wow. We spent $100,000 on this, but we're able to house a bunch of people who were homeless before. And otherwise, like if even one of those people had gotten arrested, their arrest and their stay in jail would have cost more than the entire combined cost of building this permanent, like, step back up into life. I guess the main concern be safety. Yeah, for homeless people who are too far gone to be able to like socially integrate, that's a separate issue. Apparently they do have these in LA already. Oh, I know they do. Make more. Make much more. And don't just build them as tiny little homes in a single story. Build them out like a motel. Imagine if you took one motel and retrofitted it. You cut it up, halved the size of every room. This isn't really logistically doable. I'm mostly talking about like space and size here. You could fit like 100 people on a single lot. Like these are such solvable problems. Would you be in favor of drug testing as price of admission? No. Addicts also deserve like a chance at life. I would be okay with maybe like you have a requirement to go to like some kind of weekly or monthly counseling or like rehab. Like you need to make these meetings because if you can't, that might mean you're like too far gone to even make use of this service. Like AA. I don't like AA personally. I'm thinking more like a counselor who can talk with you and, you know, something like that. Well, anyway, I guess the lesson here is Gavin Newsom. You can ban homeless encampments as much as you want. Like the problem's only getting worse. You're not fixing this. The founder of my housing community bought houses in a normal neighborhood. You wouldn't even know they were there. Yeah, no, genuinely. The average like Californian genuinely believes that if you have a halfway house or anything like that, interim housing nearby, that their entire neighborhood is going to become a ghetto. What they don't realize is that the neighborhood becomes a ghetto because they don't have that house. The rot and decay on the street, the encampments, the needles, those are because they're homeless. If they weren't homeless, at the very least, the needles would be in their little tiny home. I know that sounds kind of glib, but it's literally true. Like, in my opinion, pardon me for being, you know, sort of mind your own business about it, but if you're a heroin addict, keep it away from me. Just keep it away from me, please. I like best of luck to you and I want you to get better, but like if you're gonna be, keep it away from me and my house. Heroin addicts are most chill though. You're thinking of meth heads. Heroin addicts make me more sad though. Because if you walk by someone who's clearly on meth, it's like, well, they're living life. But if you walk by someone who's clearly on heroin or fentanyl, it's like, damn, they're like a puddle. Like they're not even like a person basically. That's really sad. If anything, meth helps you live your best life, not medical advice. But even if they're more dangerous. Anyway, sorry. Closing this segment before I make any more jokes.